Today in the Outback, we are going to be finding aquarium driftwood. What's up, guys? I got kind of sick of sitting in the office and doing species spotlight videos. So today I figured I'd do a cool video where we get out and about and find some aquarium driftwood and talk about what the local fish stores don't want you to know. I'm gonna find me some driftwood. What's up, guys? I feel like there's too many myths and unknowns about putting wood inside of our fish tanks. Like, why is this wood so expensive? And like, I have multiple fish tanks and I can't afford it. It's ridiculous. When I first got into fish tanks, I found myself completely addicted and I had multiple tanks. And what I found out really quickly was I couldn't afford to buy cool pieces of driftwood for every single tank, because the fish stores, what they don't want you to know is that they're kind of a sales gimmick. And yes, the driftwood is pretty fancy. There's manzanita, there's bonsai, there's cholo wood, but to be completely honest, it's all wood at the end of the day. So I asked myself, what does the word driftwood even mean? And it's kind of a vague term that we use it in the aquarium industry. Wikipedia defines driftwood as a piece of wood that has been washed onto shore by winds, tides, or waves. So essentially, driftwood is any type of wood that has been weathered by Mother Nature, aka water, wind, what have you. This is kind of a cool looking piece right here. It's kind of got a cool swirl to it. But anyways, I found myself divided between, the expensive pieces of driftwood like the bonsai, the manzanita, the cholo wood. I couldn't afford it, and it's really expensive, especially where I live here in the Midwest. So I dove into Mother Nature and figured out how I could get around it. And I want to show you guys some of my DIY hacks. When it comes to finding driftwood, a person first thinks of going to your local lake just because you envision the shoreline having all of this super awesome driftwood. But it's commonly not the case, just because there's not a lot of current on lakes, and the current needs to push the wood out of the water onto the shoreline for us to obtain it. And this stuff looks kind of cool, but it's small and kind of rotting. And I find that I have a lot of issues with the wood that you find that actually is rotting. And I've had so many cool bomb pieces of driftwood that looked so awesome, but they started decaying in the water and just messed up my water parameters. Every single year come springtime, I drive around to my local lakes and streams and rivers and try to find cool pieces of driftwood. But to be completely honest, it's really rare that I actually find a piece. Here's a piece here I can see someone probably brought up and left here. It probably means that something's wrong with it. I've just been through this over and over. The inside's probably rotting, and that's what you need to watch for with driftwood. It needs to be a hard wood and can't be rotting, because it will wreck your water parameter so fast. I've had the coolest of pieces of driftwood, but they start to rot and they wreck your water parameter super fast. I gotta say that I've had much better luck through the years of just walking through the woods and looking for regular pieces of wood and branches. And I gotta say that it's also really tempting to want to throw giant pieces of wood in your tank, like the one on the right there, but you're gonna have much better luck with smaller pieces just because they don't rot, and if you bulk up or add up a couple smaller pieces, it's gonna be a lot better. Like, I will find a rotten spot on here. Oh, right there, check out that mold. That is going to be terrible on your water parameters. Even though this piece looks super gnarly and awesome, like it would be like the best piece of aquascaping wood ever, you're going to have much better luck with smaller pieces of wood that are cleaner, and you can kind of just bulk them up to make them look like more than what they actually are. This might sound weird to some of you guys, but everywhere I drive, I'm constantly on the lookout for cool pieces of wood that I can throw in my tank while I drive. And it's probably not the safest thing in the world, but I do live in an area where I can kind of stop and kind of just get out. I'm thankful that I do live in the country. Some people that live in Chicago might not be able to do something like this, but that's how you know you're a complete weirdo, to where you're driving to work and all of a sudden you see a cool piece of aquarium wood that you might be able to throw in your tank. This is a pretty soft wood here. I remember this, and I decided to just kind of skip on this one, but that shows you how weird I am, guys. All right, guys, let's take a look at what some of this wood I have found looks like in my tanks. A couple of things you're going to realize when you put these branches into your aquarium is that some funky things are going to happen. The first thing that's weird is that they float. This is extremely annoying because you're thinking, oh man, I'm going to have the coolest aquascape on the planet, except your branch freaking floats and all of a sudden you can't do anything. And secondly, like a weird fungus is going to start to grow on the driftwood, and some pieces are worse than others. And it's just something that's going to go away with time, and after a couple months everything's going to pan out. This is kind of a long-term deal, guys, because you got to have patience. Number one, you got to wait for the branch to float. This one hasn't even floated right there. It still half floats. It sucks. Got to be patient for it to float, and then you got to wait for the fungus to go away, and you may have to do some upkeep on the cleaning and such, but it's going to be worth it in the long haul. And in video 2, I'm going to be talking about some helpful things when it comes to the funguses, getting it to float down the road, or getting it to sink, I should say, sorry. But yeah, guys, looking awesome. Alright guys, this is video 1 of the Aquarium Driftwood series. It kind of gave you some basics of what to look for when finding driftwood, what to watch out for, how to kind of look for what pieces will actually look good. And remember, if you have smaller pieces, you can kind of bundle them up to make them look like they're one piece. So don't be afraid to, small pieces are totally fine because you can add them together. That is probably the worst visual in the world. Now I feel like a complete weirdo. Let me know what you guys think of finding aquarium driftwood. I know this is kind of like, there's the fancy aquascaping world, and there's kind of just like the DIY, just go with it world as far as like the driftwood scene, but this is completely free, and I'm really a cheap wad, if I'm being completely honest. One of my next video series is going to be the ghetto cheap aquarium, because that's kind of what I've learned to do. When you have 30, 40 aquariums, like I have had at one point, and I will soon, you need to learn how to set them up on the cheap and still have them look really cool. Anyways, guys, video 1 of the series. Video 2 is going to be prepping the driftwood and getting it to sink, and there'll probably be a video 3 of aquascaping it. It felt cool to get outside today, get near some streams, some rivers, some lakes, and get out of the office a little bit. So let me know what you guys think of the video. Subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, all that fancy stuff. So, all right, guys.